Hi everyone, welcome to the Flowers in Bloom tutorial. Today we're going to make this flower vase portrait, and what you're going to need to complete this portrait is you're going to need one of your canvases. You're going to need both of your white cords. There's a longer one and a shorter one. You'll need your little wooden black bird, and you'll also need your acrylic paints, your whole paint set, and then something that you're going to need from home. Oh, and you'll need this little wood tool as well. Something that you'll need from home is you'll need a glue gun, and check the recycling and get a plastic lid, or maybe you have a tin lid that you can use. And because we're going to be painting, I like to have a wet cloth so that I can wipe my paintbrush off in between. In the past, I've used baby wipes as well because they work really well for getting inside those bristles. But other than that, oh, and a pair of scissors so that we can turn this canvas into a frame over top of canvas. I learned this trick from one of my friends that I follow on Instagram, and I just love it because you can find these canvases anywhere. You can find them at Michael's, and you can even find them at most dollar stores. And basically all you do is on the back, you remove this from the staples. I've done this so many times now, but sometimes when you pull it up, there's a little bit that's still stuck under there, so you can just take something skinny and kind of pop it up to get it, so that when you take it off, I already cut the bottom off here, but it comes out like this, and then you can just use this line to cut these ends off so that you just have a rectangle canvas to work with. And then at the end, we get to reverse it. So we get to put the frame on the outside. Now, this, like I said, this is cost effective. So it means that when you pop that canvas off, it's always kind of a surprise what shape the wood is in underneath. Sometimes it's really nice, and sometimes it's a little bit like this one I popped off, and it's a little rough around the edges. But honestly, once you paint it and once we put our cord on and we add the detail and you put it up on your shelf, you won't really be able to notice those imperfections. And you know, if you're getting these from the dollar store, even Michael's, they're like $2 a canvas. So it kind of goes with the price, but I think it's an awesome way to display your art. So the first thing that we're going to do is take this off of the wood frame, and please get help if you need it. It's not super hard to do, but sometimes with little hands it can be. So I'm gonna move my camera so you can see how I'm gonna cut this canvas, and I'm just cutting right on the crease. And do that along the top. And do that right along here as well. You have a second canvas in there, and that is for the Burlap Bunny project. And so it means that you'll have an extra piece of this because we're going to use burlap for that other project. And so you potentially could make 2 of these because you'll have that second set of canvas. But okay, so I've cut it, and I'm just going to show you how at the end when we glue this onto the back, you're just going to want to double check. Mine is a little bit is going over a bit, so I'm actually just going to correct my cut here and straighten it out. One thing you have to keep in mind as well is that when you are painting your picture, and I see that I kind of want to trim this here. When you're painting your picture, there is still a section of your canvas that when you put it on the frame is going to be covered by the frame. It's this much, right? And so you do have a bit smaller area to work with than this. You're gonna kind of visualize that frame along there. And it's okay if you kind of go over, like as you can see on this one, if I had drawn this like too far over though, it would be hidden. So if there's anything that you don't want hidden, just keep it to the middle and kind of just keep in mind that there is a border where it's going to be covered up. Now, the first thing that we'll do is let's paint our frame so it can dry while we do our painting. Now, with these acrylic paints, you have to take the lid off, and the first time you use them, you have to poke inside here so that it breaks the seal. I'm gonna squeeze some of my black on there and then replace the lid. And then I'm just going to paint the frame. And you can paint all the way around. You can paint this part as well, I suggest that. And you can even paint the inside, but I'm just going to paint the outside for the sake of the video, so that's not too long for you. Because even this portion you could paint and then come back to your art later if you like, depending on how much time you have. But this is going to, I chose black around the edge. You can use any color you want. Everyone's kind of got a different style. I chose black because in the painting that we're going to do, I did the vase black and white stripes. And so I thought that the black really played off of the vase in my portrait, but I also have in my portrait some hints of red. It's the color I use the least of in my portrait, and you know what, a red frame would really bring that out too. So you might even actually want to paint your frame at the end and decide after you've done your painting to see what color you would like to paint it. Maybe you're thinking when you do your painting, oh, I've got like very little yellow in here, I want a yellow frame. You can make all those decisions. Remember, this is just sort of a guide to get you started, and then you just let your imagination go. And see, this frame was pretty bumpy, needed a little bit of a sand, but I didn't do that. And once you put the paint on, you can't really notice it. So you can even do this for other things. You could go grab your canvas frames, and if you've got some artwork that you've already done and you want to frame it and you want something that you can paint, especially good if you're making like a gallery wall. It's really cost effective then. Now I need just a touch more. Also, when you're squeezing your paints out, remember you can always add more to your tray, but this paint isn't going to go back in the tube. So you don't want to squeeze too much out at a time. Just keep adding as you go. Okay, so I have the top of my frame basically finished. And you know what would be cool too, actually, as I'm doing this, is maybe you would want to paint your frame top black, but then you might want to try another color inside. Once this is dry, you could paint another color inside here and outside here. Some white would look really cool with that, or even like if you wanted to do a pop of green in there would be really neat. But I'm going to set this aside to dry, and I'll come back to it. I'm going to take my rag and just wipe this black off my fingers. got a little bit on the table, and when I move my canvas on here, I don't want it to smudge. And I'm gonna wipe my brush. And you can also have like a little glass of water, that warm water, that you might wanna swish this in to clean your brushes. I'm just going to kind of go like this. I'm gonna be using black again on my painting, but okay. So now I have my canvas. I'm ready to make my portrait. And what I want to do is I want to start with the flowers because they're in the foreground, and then the vase, it's not that it's in the background, but some of the flowers droop down in front of the vase. And so I want to be able to do my vase kind of behind. So I'm not going to start with the vase. I'm going to visualize that border that we talked about. It's about the width of my finger. So my vase will be somewhere around here. So I'm gonna do my flowers. I'm gonna start them in the middle and move them up. And the first thing I wanna do when painting my flowers, I wanna get my colors ready that I wanna use. And so you've got this paint tray with all these acrylic paints, lots of color choice. I was really interested in this green color. Viridian, I don't know, but it's a type of green. I'm gonna punch the seal with that little pointy end, and I'm going to put that on. So that's a nice dark green, but I kind of want to add some blue to it. Color mixing is a really fun way to get some different colors, and I'm gonna squeeze a little bit of blue on my tray. And you might want a couple of trays if you're worried about mixing that black in, but I'm going to take these, I'm just gonna move them together and see what color I get. And I'm just playing around with the blue in the green. And it's turning into sort of a darker teal, which I really like. I'm gonna try and lighten it up a touch. So I'm gonna add some white, which I already had open from another project. So I'm just gonna add a touch of white in there and see what happens. Oops, get off of there. I'm gonna make sure it doesn't go back in. So my white stays white. Okay, so I'm gonna mix that white in. And you can have fun kind of mixing all your colors. You can see I got mine kind of, it's hard when I'm filming, guys, and I get a little nervous, but here we go. Okay, so let's get that white in there. Oh, I like that. It's like a very deep aqua. So, and you don't need very much because each flower won't take up a whole bunch of paint. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with that, but I'm gonna tidy up my brush a bit because I'm always using my fingers, you guys, and it's very messy, but it's just what I like to do. Okay, so I'm gonna clean my brush up a bit, and I've got the color that I like. Maybe you're just choosing a color and you didn't even need to color mix, so you're like, come on, Miss Mervin, hurry up. So I'm going to start with a circle, and I'm just gonna kind of go like this and move my paint around in a circle. And I kind of like switching my direction so it gives it some texture, if you can see that. And I really like how that looks. I'm gonna leave that. I think that's, I might just wanna make it just a touch bigger actually as I'm looking at it. So maybe I'll come around like this and like this, but I really like that. And now what I'm gonna do is I wanna do a blue up here, and I already have, oops, butterfingers, a deep blue that I'm gonna squirt on here. That's what I mixed with the green to get I mixed the deep green and the deep blue to get the teal color. So now what I need to do before I do my blue flower is I need to wipe the paint off of this one. I got it pretty clean, and I'm going to really dab in there and get some blue paint on my, and I'm gonna do, this flower is gonna be a little bit bigger, take up some space up here. And I'm going to come all the way around just to give myself a border of where I want this flower. And then I'm kind of just, I want to move the paint like in this direction. I'm just going back and forth, but always like in a circle. And I like when there's that white popping through. And I'm not going to worry too much about my middle right now because I'm actually going to add another color in the middle. So I like that, just kind of like that. And then I want to fill this space with a flower. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take like a red color. I want to make a pink. And so I'm going to wipe my brush off and take this reddy color. I'm going to poke it. And I'm going to add white to it. Put some white there. And I'm going to mix that. You actually need more white than red. I kind of squeeze that out a bit more, but we are going to need that red for later anyway. And this is really pretty. It's like a peachy, it's turning into like a peachy color. And just be careful not to get your other colors mixed in, or else it'll change it. Okay, got it like how I would like it. Oh, I like that color. It's not a bright pink, it's like a duller, almost a peach, I guess. But wow, I really like that. Okay, so now I'm gonna use this. Oh, that looks so good with the, and don't worry if you get some of those other little colors in there, they just add dimension to the whole thing. I'm just gonna kind of make a circle that I can then fill in. And remember, flowers aren't really perfect circles, right? I'll add a little more white because I kind of ran out of that color. I'm gonna add a little bit of white and keep color mixing. The main thing is just have fun with this because you're given a certain range of colors with these sets, but you can play around and see what colors you can make on your own. I'm just gonna move that around a little bit more. There we go. Oh, such a cool color. You can see that I've got some teal on my brush, but you know what? It's just gonna add to the flower. It's not gonna really take away from it. And just make your strokes in the shape of a circle. So you're going like little half circles around, and then the other way. And then you can just kind of go towards the middle. And like I said before, I'm gonna add a color to the middle, so I'm not really concerned about the middle right now. And then I've got room for another flower right here. And that's where I wanna add my pop of yellow. But remember, you can be I'm actually gonna grab one more lid, because I can see my lid is getting pretty full, and you might want to do the same. These are just little yogurt lids from our recycling, but I'm gonna put the yellow, and you know, sometimes it's a really good idea just to keep your light colors that you don't want mixed on a different tray, because they can get really overpowered by the blacks. Black on its own is actually a good idea on a tray. But okay, so I'm gonna take this yellow and kind of do the same thing that I did before. And when I come around my circle, I'm going to be close to my edge, where my border will be. And that's okay, I'm just saying that because you might notice that too. So it's just something to think about. And I make my first border and then work my circles around all the way to the middle. Really like how that is turning out. Okay, so now I'm going to take, wipe my brush off, take the black now, and I think I'm just gonna squeeze a bit more on here so I can make my vase. And how I'm gonna make my vase is I'm going to do a line that kind of, this is the top of my vase. And I'm gonna come right from the flower and draw a little line. If you want, you can get in there by dabbing so that you're close as you possibly can get. And then I'm going to come down with my vase. And I'm conscious of that border, so I'm going to come down and turn it. And my border might cover this up a bit, or I can even pull this up and have less behind. I'll show you that though when I get to it. It's kind of hard to explain. Okay, so I think I need a little bit more black. And I'm going to come, so in here you'd be able to see the tiniest little bit of my vase. I'm going to dab a little bit of black there to show that line coming across. And then I'm actually going to make my vase come up and out like this. And that is looking really cool. Now, in this one, my vase was a little bit taller and skinnier. And this one's almost like a bowl. But I like to show you because every time I do these, it just turns out different. And so if you were higher up on yours, you would be able to make yours come down. And if you're where I was, then you can still just make your vase. I'm just widening that bottom line because I'm gonna do the stripes. And then I'm gonna come right in here and do a line. Okay, I have to say, I love this color so much. As I get the black on, it just complements it so well. And just being very careful and getting right into there. You can tell with canvas it's a little bit different than painting on paper. It's got pores, it's porous, which means it's got little holes, and so you just have to be more careful to make sure you get paint in all the spots. I'm gonna come up here and smooth that out a bit, and then I'm going to do another, just make this top stripe thicker. And come down here. Need a little bit more black. I don't mind keeping on adding my paint because I know that I can't put it back in the tube. And so you don't want to squeeze a whole bunch out and then have to try and wrap it up. Okay, so here we go. And here we go. And I'm gonna even it out down here too. So as you go with this, I'm just playing around with how thick I want these lines. And I don't want you to worry about perfection because it's gonna look great no matter what. If your spacing's a little off, but you can, I just wanna show you how you can thicken things up and even them out. And that's kind of what I'm doing. So I'm gonna leave it like that. And I don't have this perfectly symmetrical, but I left it because you might not either. And I don't want you to get hung up on one side looking exactly like the other. You can always add a little more paint on each side or like thicken up a side if you think one side's too thin in comparison to the other side. But I think that looks pretty cute. And when the kids come to my classes, this is what happens. We have them looking all different ways, and they always sort of just turn out because it's your work. It's fun to see how you take an idea and make it your own. Okay, so now that I have my vase, you can even kind of touch up around here if you want to. I'm just gonna leave mine. I can see actually that I could add like a little bit of my teal right down here just to give the illusion that it's covering the vase. But with our flowers, what I want to do is I want to paint inside them, and I want to use black to do that. Now, most times I kind of like to wait until the paint is dry before I start doing something like that. But with this, we don't have very much in there, and all I did is I kind of just dabbed around until it looked kind of like what I would like. And I did that in each one, so you could do a whole bunch, or you could keep it kind of small, like maybe just want a few little dabs. Or maybe you want to dab it even bigger around and come back to the middle. But I really like how that looks. And the other thing that I did is I then took some white, even though I have some white popping through, I took my wood tool, and let's get some white on this tray, not too much. And I'm just gonna kind of use my wood tool, get some paint on it, and then just dab some little areas of white, the inside of the flower, part that the honeybee likes to get to. Give it just, now this part is easier to do when when the black has dried completely, but you can still see little dabs of white in there. And I'll just do a few more in this one and just give it some texture. And then I'm gonna leave the yellow because I like how the yellow looks like that. But because this is a video and you wanna sort of not have to watch my paint dry, I didn't let the black dry. Now, this like this is great and could be considered finished, but I am gonna add some stems. I'm gonna take this other green since I haven't used it, and I'm gonna use that to add, actually I've got room right here. I'm gonna use that to add some stems and then like some flowers kind of coming off, and I think I'm gonna do them up here because I have like a little smudge. I don't know if you can see that, but I wanna hide it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go like this and make a stem coming from here. Ooh, I need a lot more. Good little blob there. Okay, so I'm gonna come down here to here. Then I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna give it, I'm gonna kind of like turn it so it's hanging, and then I'm gonna give it some leaves like that. It's gonna be hanging down over top. And then I also wanna make one come out from my side of my painting. But I need to still remember that there's gonna be that border from my frame. I'm just doing these little lines to the side for little leaves. There we go. And I'm gonna try that for now. And I think I'm actually gonna add a little bit here so that it looks like this flower stem's coming down. And I'm also gonna go like this for the yellow to have that little flower stem coming down. Okay, now I'm gonna wipe my brush off, and I want to use the same red that we mixed with white. It's like an orangey red, but anyway, we had mixed it with the white to make this color. I wanna use it just here on its own, and it's just going to be a little flower coming down here. Now when I do that, I'm picking up some of the green and it just naturally drags in. If you don't want that, you have to make sure each color is dry before you do the next one. But it makes it look a little more interesting if you have some colors blending in. I'm gonna do the same for up here. And then when we're talking about the frames and how, oh, I love that, how that kind of smudged up in there. We were talking about the frame color and how I think it would look really good actually if you painted the frame this color too, because it would really pop that part out. Or, I mean, any of these colors on the frame would look so good because they would just bring out that other color. Okay, so let's look at, so I've got my painting basically how I want it. And then I've got my frame, and as it's dried, the bits that were kind of not sanded, I need to go back over and push some paint in there. But as you can see, just even having that on the back just makes it look so good. So this is dry. The first part of this, before we glue this on, this is where the glue gun comes in. So you might want to get a little bit of help with this unless you're allowed to do, oh, actually one little thing we need to do first is the little blackbird. You could leave it. Mine was black in the first one. I think I'm actually gonna take this red and paint it, this one red. That's what's fun, is that you can just take these ideas and make them your own. does not have to be the same as what I did. But I'm gonna paint that. And you know, we could have painted this first and let it dry, but I probably would have just painted it black. And now that my picture's kind of coming together, I really wanted to try it red. So I'm gonna set that to the side to dry while we add my hands are so dirty. This is white crafting cord. It's like for macrame, I think. I don't know, but it's nice and stiff. But I want to make sure that my hands are pretty clean because it is white. Okay, so you're going to use your big piece for this. And what you're going to do is once this is completely dry, you're going to glue this around the border. Now, you're going to want to start where you want your bird to be because your bird is going to hide the little, where these come together. So you might even want to put a little knot on the end, or yours might have a knot on it. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your glue gun and you're going to, let's do this. You're going to put a little bit of glue there and set your knot down in it so that it's secure. And then I just ran glue up the length of the mirror, and then you don't want to pull it too tight so that it pulls this off, but you don't want it too loose. And then you're just going to glue the cord and you want to try and keep it like a thin so that the cord covers the glue all the way. And then you're just going to do that. And then we'll come back down here. But hopefully this is an idea that you use for other projects, because you could use yarn or ribbon and you could really personalize your frames, which is cute, I think. And then I'm going to come all the way down here. Okay, and then you will need to cut the end off, and you can actually even save it. So I've come to the end and I need to put the bird right here because it's gonna cover that up. It's not dry, as you can see. Okay, but you can save this because you could even use this as a little hanger on another frame. I would just knot it, and the style of hanger, so you can just put a little knot on it, and you could either glue it on like this or like this. We're not going to use it for this one though, because I have another longer piece for you. And I'm going to show you how we're going to make this a little bit longer of a tie. Okay, so you're going to undo this one. And what I want you to do is a little knot so that it's like this. You might need help with that, but you've got this part. So this is the bottom, so I want to make sure that I do this on the top of the back of my frame. And I'm going to put some glue along here and then hold this so that, and I've cut these, they should fit perfectly across. So I'm going to take my glue gun, and I'm running out of glue, but I want to show you this. So I would just typically run my glue all the way across and then make sure that's in the middle. The knot is in the middle. And if it's not, you can always adjust it after, because you can untie the knot. But this is the part where you might want some adult help because it could, I'm getting the glue on my fingers and it's hot. Okay. So now I'm going to see if this will, yep. So here's my frame, and I'm going to now take my frame and just see how I want to position it on, I'll do it this way so that you guys can see how I want to position it on my painting. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, so what I'm actually gonna do is, yeah, I'm just gonna do it as is, just like this. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this over and I'm gonna hot glue gun all the way, even over the cord and everything, all the way around. And then I'm going to lay my picture on top and make sure that it's secure. And you could also glue this cord last and glue it over top. That might work a little easier. But mainly start with gluing your corners and get it nice and straight, and then glue underneath. You can just pop this up once your corners are glued, and then you've got your art framed in a frame that you can also hang. And then what I did to finish this off is I just put a little bit of glue on the back of the bird and glued it right on that knot, which is really cute. Okay, thank you for joining me for this tutorial. That was really fun. Remember, as always, I love to see what you did with my ideas and how you're displaying them in your house. So please send me pictures that I can see and hopefully share. Okay, bye.